I am really excited to sit down and chat with you, Emily, both as an artist and as an educator. I look at art as kind of this foundational thing that really society is built on
hmm
art and creativity and artistic things, and we really do need it. And so I wonder why we're still having these conversations year after year, decade after decade. We're still talking about the funding and defunding of arts education in the school systems. I don't know why we're still talking about that because it feels like, it's just this ongoing thing. And so if it's so important, it's like, what do we do to kind of regroup and redirect some of the focus on why art is so important?
So you're gonna love this. Have you heard the story of the kid on the beach picking up starfish and throwing them into the ocean?
Maybe. I
Maybe. Okay.
don't.
So the story is that a guy is walking on the beach and he comes across a kid and he's picking and there's like all of these starfish that have like washed up during high tide and the water's gone back out and they're sitting on they're gonna roast, they're gonna dry out. And a kid is picking up these starfish and he's throwing them back into the sea. And this guy comes up and he says, like kid, there's thousands of starfish here. Like you're not going to be able to get all of them before they die. And the kid picks up a starfish and he throws it in back into the ocean. He said it made a difference for that one. And that was kind of the mindset mentality that Starfish Circus had in going out and like, everyone's like, why are you teaching kids how to do circus tricks? What is it that you're doing here? Like, what are they going to take into their day-to-day life? And the idea is, sure, we can teach a kid how to do a cartwheel. We can teach a kid how to do a drop on aerial silks. Yeah, they're not going to take that into, their future accounting job, but they learned the, you know, how to overcome that obstacle of learning how to do a drop on aerial silks from, 10 feet up. And they tried it over and over and over and 16 times, and they learned the perseverance of reaching that goal of accomplishing that trick. They've learned how to visualize themselves achieving a goal that they want to reach, and um, just patience and all of those little skills along the way that you want to take into any career field, and
Yeah.
just also just the joy of it, I think for a lot of the times we forget of,
Yes.
sometimes the point is just the joy of it.
Yeah, the joy and the beauty of
hmm
life and the connection with other humans. So, and bringing that full circle to what we're talking about,
hmm
I mean, do you feel like in some ways we have lost the sense of value of art in our community, in society, that really intrinsic value of what it's there for and what it can be. Maybe we're not as passionate about it as we once were, or we just, I don't know. I mean, we're such a society of consumerism.
I think the biggest place that we could see when, the luxury that we take for granted, right? Just think of the pandemic for a second and how
You have to.
everybody's lives got. I love to go back here because I'm like, see,
Oh,
um, but we had a minute that all we took away, like everything was taken away. Your concerts were taken away, your galleries were taken away. All of the things that we do on a day-to-day basis that we go and enjoy that bring people together were taken away because we couldn't be together. And all of a sudden, like, what are the things that people went back to? Everybody was online trying to find art classes, tutorials, how to paint, how to draw, how to do anything, how to play an instrument. They were all going back to these roots, and we took a minute as, a population, a society, a culture that when stripped of everything else, all the mundane, all the things that we have to do on a day to day, we all went back to art and the things that we enjoy and the things that make a culture rich, you know? When I find myself like kind of losing that touch with what is rich around me, what are the things that bring me the most joy and fulfillment, I have to like take a second, and it's usually the times that I have lost that time for myself to go draw, to go illustrate, to go make pottery, to, do those things.
So, okay, as an artist, because you are a brilliant artist, and I can't believe that you've only been, it's called, all right, give me the technical term, throwing what?
Okay. Yeah, wheel throwing.
Wheel
Or
throwing.
throwing
Okay.
pottery. It's
Okay. You've been throwing stuff for 3 years. That's I
hmm
can't believe that because like your pieces are I'm mesmerized by your pottery. And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Okay.
But like as an artist, and thinking about, myself and others and how sometimes we beat ourselves up and then we doubt the value of our own art.
hmm
What do we need to be telling ourselves? What should our inner what are our daily inner dialogue and monologue, because we all need to change this like right now. I've been working on this on myself
hmm
recently, like, okay, I'm going to change course here. So what do we need to tell ourselves every day?
In terms of, creating as the
Yeah,
artist, what we need
you
to be
as the
telling ourselves.
artist,
Okay.
what you need to remind yourself every day, especially when it gets rough, because we're going to have days where we don't even
hmm
want to create because it's the doubt, has filled our headspace.
Um, I'm gonna go back to, okay, so I attended Governor School for the Arts when I was in high school, and I had a painting instructor there who was amazing. Okay, she's one of those artists that is like out there doing pieces and doing art, that is pushing boundaries and, in a whole different area that I'm not in at all. But she told me at one point, she said a couple of things. Um, in terms of my own art making that I have carried with me. And one of those things was, if you, and I tell my students this, if you're making a piece, right, if you're working on a drawing, painting, sculpture, it does not matter. And I would even argue same applies to music and, writing as well. Um, if you're making a piece and it's good, make it better, strive to make it better. If it's bad, make it worse. Okay, strive to even make it worse. Because either way that you go, you're going to end up in another place down the road during the creative process that you're going to look at it again and you're going to be like, huh, you know, this is interesting. Okay, I can make a mess of things. Okay, I can be starting on a portrait and, want something that's a little bit more realistic and totally fudge an area. And I'm just like, okay, you know what? I screwed up this area in the corner and by this eye. Now I'm just gonna make like crazy nonsensical brushstrokes until, all of a sudden there's, new rhythm there. I like how these lines are doing. There's a new energy in this piece that now that creative spark is like reactivated. And now I'm interested in this piece again. And now I can bring it somewhere that I can actually enjoy it. Um, and it's hard to be at this place where I'm like, I've ruined it. I hate it. I don't like this at all. This is, not good in the eyes of me. And I should just give up now. And it's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to take this thing that my brain sees as trash and I'm just going to wreck it even more. But every time I have done that, and every time I've told my students to do that, and they listen to me, it works. It works every dang time. You sit there, it's 30 minutes later, and you're like, okay, now we're in a good place again. We're in a good place again. So even if you're making stuff, like at least like the process of production will lead eventually to something that tickles your fancy again and reignites the, you know, puts you back in the groove, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
it's very similar thing with writing, with stories, that the kind of the rule is to you're supposed to write, just put it out there, just write everything down. Don't edit, don't hold
Hmm.
back, just put it all on the paper, and then you come back and you edit. When you're going through your editing, that's when you're it's without mercy. But the
Hmm.
writing part, being able to just throw all the words on the page, and it's really hard because you want to nitpick and you want to kind of craft it really polished in that first draft. But that first draft has got to come through.
Hmm.
Those characters have to come through. That story has to come through in a way that you might stifle if you're too careful with
Yes.
every little sentence and every word. And I
Hmm.
think it's a similar thought, because there may be something that emerges in that mess of
Hmm.
words that you go,
100%.
wait a minute. This is really cool. What is
Hmm.
this? I didn't know that was going to happen. Just what I have gained personally from each book. I can look back at those stories and I can go, I can see
Hmm.
the things that I learned, and I can see the places that that story taught me, and the process of not only writing, but then working with editors and
Hmm.
revising and, getting, and yeah, the whole process of storytelling. And I think in any medium, because all art is storytelling, and so
Oh, yes.
the process of storytelling, we learn so much about ourselves, and about other people. And I think that's why it's so good at bringing all of us together, because it's a story
Hmm.
of each of us. It's all of our stories combined, and then we're sharing that with
Hmm.
each other. It's so beautiful.
Well, my favorite thing is to go back and be like, okay, the minute my, I have my students are coming and I have new kids and I'm, blow their minds a little bit and we talk about values in art and aesthetics and what is beauty and what is art and all of the things, and they get confident in what they believe, and then I shatter that and I show them something else. They're like, this is art, this is the I'm like, okay, you gave me these definitions, and then I show them the duct taped banana, and they lose their minds. And oh my gosh, I love it. I just, break all of their foundational beliefs, but then we kind of take a step back, and I talk to them about like, okay, let's look at the course of human history. All right, let's go way back. Um, every society, every culture of like every little pod of humans anywhere in the world, as far back as we can look, okay, when we started making things, we have put our little stamp, our little fingerprints all over it in customizing it and being able to identify it by, from different cultures, okay? How, like, we can determine different phases and different time periods of ancient Egypt based on the art alone. Okay, we watch humans develop their art so many times, and we use art as like a thing to look at in how we are progressing as a society. And it doesn't matter, like, it does not matter where you are in the world. We have, okay, like this society here, they like to put these three colors of dots on all of their pottery in this specific way, okay? Traditional Polish pottery uses cobalt blues and white and dots and these beautiful hand painted everything. But, you know, Japan is also using blues and whites and everything, but they're doing it in a totally different way. Like we have art ingrained in us visually and performance wise and music and everything. Some of the richest cultures that we gravitate towards in terms of like anything have food, music, and visual art at their epicenter, okay? And
Yeah.
when you think of those, what do you think of? You think of Mexico, you think of Italy, you think of, my brain goes to India, like with
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
such a rich color palette and I love it so much.
Yeah, even
But
Africa. Oh my
Af
word.
anywhere,
Oh,
anywhere, yes.
yes. Yeah, it is the
Hmm.
foundation of humanity, all of these things.
Hmm.
And that's why I love studying art history. And everyone should even just do like an intro to art history to
Oh, absolutely.
see, to really understand that we are art in all of our essence, and that this is why it's important, because it's who we are.
Mhm.
Even, and I think we do lose sight of that sometimes.
I think we have to embrace that the generation of teenagers and preteens and kids that are coming up now are so different than just how I was, and I graduated high school 2017, okay? Like it was not that long ago, and yet I can see like my siblings are in that generation that are like still just coming out of high school, okay? My baby sisters, my baby brothers. Um and they look at the world a different way. They have different values, they have different, a different lens looking at everything. And there's so much to work with there, and they're so fun to find their little niche things because you have to put humor into it. Um, and I think I'm straying a little bit away from your question. And sorry, this is just my ADHD
Okay.
rambling.
Well,
I'll come
we'll get
back.
it in post. We're good.
Yes. Um, but I think the teachers that recognize those students for being different and embracing the fact that this generation is different, and you're not going to change them. You're not going to change them at all. The teachers that are recognizing that and working with it and encouraging them to be themselves, that is where we are succeeding in creating new artists, new thespians, new musicians, new, singers. We've got them in the bag there. And I guess that's a harsh way to say it, um,
Well, it is about
but
being adaptable, right? Like being able
yes,
to pivot and adapt and move and understanding that
hmm
things are going to change. Change is
yes,
inevitable. Change is necessary. Change is not
hmm
always a bad thing. And this is coming from someone who's very type A, who's very
yeah,
scared. Change scares me, but I do recognize that it is very necessary for all of
hmm
us and to learn and to grow and to evolve in society and as people. We need change. We need to stir the pot. We need to shake things up to
yeah.
remind us who we are and what's
hmm
important.
Well, I also think that, going back to this younger generation, they've done a really good job of, and it brings me a lot of hope, is this, like, and I say Gen Z, and is it Gen Alpha that's after them? I
Yeah,
don't
I've
even
heard
know
Gen
anymore.
Z plus and
Um,
then I've heard alpha. So it's like, I don't
yeah,
know. It's something.
I'm technically on the border. I call myself a zillennial because, I'm right at the cutoff and I identify with both.
Yeah, I'm a
Um,
cuss baby as well. So
yes.
I'm a technically I'm a Gen Xer, but I hit it
hmm
right before millennials started. So I
Yes.
could be a millennial also.
You're an elder millennial.
Yes, a granny
Um,
millennial, granny
there you
lineal.
go. So they have done a really, really great job of just kind of not caring what anybody else says. And that can get hard to work with at times. But when it comes to their aesthetics and their tastes and their self-expression, they're killing it. They're killing it. And I'm so excited for them to just continue
Yeah.
to get older and just get more brave. And I encourage them, stay brave, just keep doing what you're doing because that's going to be what sets you apart as an individual. And so to for them to recognize, an adult in the room that's like, I see you for being like 100% your own person and not caring what anyone else is going to say. And I want you to do that in this area too. And that's where we get the artists that are like untouchable, okay? Because now they've found how to take it in their own personality and plug it into everything else. And they're also customizing not just, themselves and everything, their music taste and whatever. I see people I'm a TikToker, I totally enjoy TikTok, but I'm watching them customize their own spaces, okay? Whether they are an artist or not, they're trying, they're doing something, and they're putting it out there, and I love that. So I think the best thing that we can do to keep succeeding in making the best environment for the arts as possible is to meet those students where they are and see them for being exactly who they are and not trying to, change them because they're not going to like that. I certainly don't like it when someone tries to tell me what to do. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm a redhead and I'm Irish and I'm the oldest girl of five kids and I don't care what other
right.
people think of
Well, I'm
me,
not here to
you
make you
know?
mad. So, all right.
Yes, you're not gonna win this battle, so I would rather you meet me and see me as an ally than to see me as something to change, you know? And
Yeah.
that's what I try to do with my students. Uh, I do a figure drawing unit with my students every year, and not a lot of high school teachers will teach figure drawing to this, degree. I'm sorry if you can hear thunder. The rain just hit
Yeah.
us.
I'm getting the same thing. I'm hearing thunder. I'm like, well, it is, what it is right now.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it should be fine. It should be good. But yeah, I teach a figure drawing unit, and I call it the Into the Spider-Verse project because I theme it around the movie Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales and everything, because at the end, after I've taught them proportion and dynamic figures versus static figures and all of that, they have to create their own spider person. And it can be them as, like, if I'm like, okay, you were bitten by a radioactive spider tomorrow, would your who would you be? Or they can totally make it up and have fun with it. Um, they love this project. They love it because Miles Morales is, a character that is from their generation. Okay, it's their Spider-Man movie
Right.
that they love, and they've all watched it, and they all love it because, it's got Post Malone in the background for the soundtrack, and they have. I've gotten a chicken Spider-Man. I have gotten a like Red Dead Redemption cowboy style Spider-Man. I have gotten anything and everything in between. I've gotten a Bugs Bunny Spider-Man. Um, I've gotten some really cool stuff, really, really cool stuff. And because, I'm like, okay, if I try to teach you conventional, traditional, classical figure drawing, you're going to tune me out and you're not going to listen to me anymore. So the most dynamic figure in the superhero universe that everybody under the age of 19 and beyond is going to see and identify with is Spider-Man. He's a teenage kid anyway. Now we have Miles Morales. Now we have the multiverse. So it doesn't matter what kind of Spider-Man you make it or Spider-Person you make it, because in the multiverse anything is possible and anything can exist. So, and they love it.
Well, I love it just listening to it.
Hmm.
I'm ready. Can I come back to high school? I'm like 2 years. Well, all right. Tell me a little bit about your pottery because I want people. I know you don't have an online store right
Hmm.
now, and I mean, like, we get viewers from all over the world. But I want people to be ready to be able to find you and buy your pottery when it's available online, and if there's anyone local watching to seek you out because you
Hmm.
have some pottery. I know you do all kinds, but that I
Hmm.
had never seen before, and it's the marbled clay and
Hmm.
it's absolutely stunning. So tell me a little bit about that and just you know, your heart as a potter because I know you put your heart and soul into every piece and it's you do some really beautiful work.
Hmm. Well, thank you, first off. I appreciate it. I really consider myself to be playing with clay still. I have fun in the studio. I feel like a little kid just, putting whatever together and seeing what works. And I also think of it as, I'm just running experiments in a science lab and throwing things into the kiln and seeing what comes out. And it's a little chaotic sometimes, but it scared my ceramics professor a few times when I was like, I put 5 types of glaze on this. And he's like, that is going to destroy my kiln shelf. I was like, nah, I left enough space. I know what I'm doing. Okay. I know what I'm doing. And he's like, are you sure? um, and so I was playing around and was at my supply store one day, and I was looking at the different clay bodies that they had for sale, and they had this. They were like, we just got this new like black stoneware stuff and it's fabulous to work with, and of course it was the more expensive one, so they were upselling me, but I was like, I want to try that because it looks cool. And so I played with it, and it was gorgeous to throw, and it was gorgeous to come out of the kiln with any color I could put on it. And then um, I was looking at this box of porcelain that I had, and any potter with any kind of experience is like, you're looking at mixing stoneware and porcelain like this, because porcelain likes to shrink and it likes to warp and it's very temperamental. And I was like, I know this is gonna fall apart and rip apart, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Um, and it totally did. It totally ripped apart after I tried the marbling technique with it. And I was like, okay, well, that I knew that was going to happen, but I just wanted to tempt fate anyway. So I went and I got myself some white stoneware, and I started layering the black and the white stoneware together. And I would, you know, put it in a big pile, just like white, black, white, black, white, black. And then I would cut it down and I would smush it down. And I had watched tons of videos of like candy makers that make those big long candies that they like break off at the end, and there's like a
Yeah,
little,
I
you know,
love
design
those.
inside of it. Yeah, I love those videos. And so I was like, well, let me kind of try that. So I like sliced my little layered block in half, and I would roll it out and I would twist it, and I would twist it with other rolls, and then I would just cut it off at the end and put it on the wheel and see what happened. Um, and once I would scrape away like the slippy, muddy layer on the outside, I would get this gorgeous marbled effect, and I was obsessed.
Yeah, it's
And
incredible. I've never seen, and I love pottery, and I've never seen anything like it, and like I'm mesmerized by all of your marbled pieces.
I'm also mesmerized by it, and that's why I keep doing it. Um,
So, have
and
you
like
thought about, sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you if you've thought about doing a YouTube channel, like to show your process and like to just let people see what you do.
I don't, I don't think I could, I don't think I have the patience for YouTube,
Okay.
to be honest.
Or just TikTok.
I
Maybe just put it on
I,
TikTok.
d- I actually I do have a TikTok.
Okay.
I have neglected it for a very long time, because again, and this is, I try to talk against it, but then look at me falling into it. The algorithm on TikTok is so weird. I was doing pretty okay for a while, and then it's like any video I post now, immediately, like within an hour, will shoot up to like 200 views and then stop. Like
Oh,
no one else is seeing it, and I'm so frustrated with and I've tried it, compiling my video in different ways, using their, recommended sounds, doing whatever, and it's the same
yeah.
result every single time.
Oh, I
And
have
I
a
just
whole
got
lament
frustrated
about
with it.
algorithms. Mine is YouTube, but
Hmm.
I don't want to anger the YouTube gods, so I'll.
It's okay. It's okay. But I have found a better home on Instagram. So instead of, pouring all of my time into TikToks, I've now kind of switched over to Reels because they seem to do a
Yeah.
little bit better. Um, and I don't know why I'm doing it, because again, I don't have an online shop to be like, trying to find people from all over the world, but I like connecting with other artists too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I'm
you're
like,
building a community online.
I exactly. I want to do that. So that's what I'm putting my time into. And also, like, the people that find me locally, they kind of want to see into the process. And I put more of like I guess it's kind of like a blog, more of a blog on my Facebook of like, here's this project that I'm working on right now. Here's kind of and people will take time to read more, because nobody reads anything on Instagram. On Instagram, I just have to put the pretty happy 15-second whatever on there. But
Yeah.
on Facebook, my people will actually read if I'm like talking about, hey, it's weird. I went and I bought my clay again, and it's completely a different color than it was before. But there's a talc shortage everywhere, so recipes are going to change. And here's kind of how that works. And people actually listen to that and are interested in the process on there. So I've thought about starting a newsletter too, to just kind of shoot out an email once or twice a month to talk more about that and go deep dive more into that too.
You should create a
Um,
pottery empire. Like, I'm on board for that. Like, I want to follow you into your empire of pottery.
I I would love to do that. And, I joke with my students when they're like, Miss Fehrenbacher, why are you still, like, how are you not famous by millions of people and like just a famous artist? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. You didn't share my post though, the
Yeah,
last time.
that's what it was. Okay,
I'm like,
I'm just gonna put this out there for everyone who's
hmm
not sharing these episodes on YouTube. This is why we're not,
hmm
like an international, 10 million follower channel. You
hmm
have to just share the show. Share
yeah,
the show.
there you go. You want to go back to supporting the arts. You have zero budget, but you got 800 friends on Facebook. You share it on Facebook and your 800 friends see it, maybe, if the algorithm works and they
Yeah, well,
actually
see,
look at
then
the
there's
post.
that. I,
I know, I
I'm gonna
know,
do a
I
whole
know.
show on the algorithm at some point, and we're just gonna dissect the algorithm. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna have the algorithm on the show as a guest.
Maybe,
I don't
yeah.
know how that works, but I'll figure it out. So,
I
well, we
have
are gonna
found
put
that if on TikTok, I'm like, if I ever acknowledge the algorithm in my video, those videos do better.
okay. Note to
Interesting.
self.
I don't know, but
Note to self.
that
All
could
right.
just be a cheap grab at whatever. Um, but yes, being if you have somebody in your life that's trying to go get it and build themselves online at all, I think we're good at saying it to each other, but again, for the people in the back, share their content. Okay? Comment
Yeah,
what you like about it.
absolutely.
Just
And
engaging with their content online is going to help them grow more. Okay? Go to their Instagram account, anything they post. Okay? Tell them what they
yeah.
like about it. Say, oh my gosh, that's so cool, that's so pretty. Ask them questions. Just share it. Put it on your story for a second, and it's gonna help
Yeah, and it's
across
good
the
for
board.
all of us. Like, if we want to be a part of a community, we can't just be lurkers. We do have to engage. It's so
Hmm
important if we all engage in on each other's posts. I've met so many really amazing people online that I've continued to be friends with for years, and it's really an incredible space, and when we're willing to just open up. A little bit. And like you said, just engage with each other and build those
hmm
communities. Well, I love what you're doing. So we're going to put links to all of you, all your social stuff, in the
hmm
description of this
Yeah,
video
I'm
so people can find you and go check you out. Well, so final thought, do you have a favorite quote or favorite piece of advice that you've taken with you or that you take with you daily on your art journey?
um God, I've got a few that come to mind off the top of my head. Um, One being that, if it's good, make it better. If it's bad, make it worse. And, you'll find it along the way. That I feel like you can apply to anything in the creative process, anywhere. Just take something and throw it up on the wall in enough weird, wacky ways that you'll find some way that you like it. I'm also going to take a quote from my high school art teacher. There's a book, I believe it's called Bird by Bird, that she had us read a bit from, and I forget who writes it because I'm terrible with
I think
names,
I've
but
heard of that one. I think it's on my TBR actually.
and there's a passage in there where that she had us read about like a long journey in like a car at night. Okay, when you're driving at night and you're on like you're in the woods and you're on a one lane road and there's no light and you can only see as far as your headlights. Like, that's okay. because you can still make the whole journey that way, even only being able to see as far as your headlights. Because, you're eventually going to meet the edge of what you can see and then see the next bit in front of it. And that's kind of like an analogy for our lives and our journeys through anything, be it art, pottery, you're a musician, you're a writer, you're an athlete, you're whoever, whatever your journey is, forever. We'll never be able to see the destination from where we start. We'll never even be able to see halfway from where we start. We
Mhm.
can only see as far as our headlights, and that's okay. We just have to be there in the journey, in the process, the creative process. We talked about the
Yeah.
process earlier. We can only see as far as that, but we can make that whole journey that way.
Yeah, keep the headlights on and keep driving.
Hmm.
Don't turn them off. Don't pull over and park,
Hmm.
on the side of the road. Keep
Do you
going. I
stop?
love
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me, Emily, and I
absolutely.
look forward to more endeavors with you in the future for sure.
Absolutely.